We are going to learn to say what we do and what someone else does usually. So with the verbs they finish in AR, if you want to say that I do an action, for example, I speak, then you have to think of the verb to speak, which is hablar, and then you swap the AR for an O and you say hablo, hablo. If you want to say I work, then you'll say trabajo, trabajo. And you always can put a yo before the verb. Yo hablo, yo trabajo, but you don't have to. To say that you do an action or to ask if you do an action, then you'll swap the AR for an AS. So to say you speak, you'll say hablas, hablas, and you work will be trabajas, trabajas, and you can say tú before the verb. Tú hablas, tú trabajas, but it's no need to do it. To say you do an action, but in a formal way, then you change the AR and you put an A. So, for example, you speak will be habla, habla, and your work will be trabaja, trabaja. And if you want, you can say usted before the verb. Usted habla, usted trabaja. To say that he or she does an action, then you change the AR for an A, the same than before. So you'll say for he or she speaks, habla, habla, and for he or she works, trabaja, trabaja. And if you want, you can say él or ella before the verb. So to say he speaks, you say él habla or she works, ella trabaja, but you don't need to say él or ella. With verbs they finish in ER, then if you want to say that I do an action, you swap the ER for an O. So for example, with to eat, which is comer, if you want to say I eat, you say como, como. And I drink, bebo, bebo. And you can put a yo before the verb. Yo como, yo bebo. To say you eat or to ask someone if they eat, then you swap the ER for an ES and you say comes, comes. And to say you drink, bebes, bebes. If you want to say the same, you do an action or asking someone if you do an action, then in a formal way, you change the ER and you put just an E. So if you want to say you eat, you say come, and you drink, you say bebe, bebe, and you put usted before the verb if you want. Usted come, usted bebe. To say if he or she does an action, then you put the same ending than before. You swap the ER for an E. So to say he or she eats, you'll say come, come. And he or she drinks, bebe, bebe. And if you want, you can say él for he or ella for she and put it before the verb. So he eats will be él come and she drinks will be ella bebe. And with verbs they finish in IR, then to say that I do an action, you do the same than before. You swap the IR for an O and you'll say, for example, if you want to say I live, you say vivo, vivo. And I write, you'll say escribo, escribo. And also you can put a yo before the verb if you want. Yo vivo, yo escribo. If you want to say that you do an action, then you swap the IR for ES. Be careful, you don't have to put IS, you put ES. So if you want to say you live, you'll say vives, vives. And you write, you'll say escribes, escribes. If you want to say this, you do an action, but in a formal way. Then you'll swap the IR for an E, and then you'll say, for you live, vive, vive, and for you write, escribe, escribe. And if you want, you can put usted before the verb. Usted vive, usted escribe. And to say that he or she does an action with verbs finishing in IR, then you change the IR for an E. And for he or she lives, you'll say vive, vive. And for he or she writes, escribe, escribe. And if you want, you can put él or ella before the verb. So, for example, for he lives will be él vive, and she writes will be ella escribe.